Greetings to everybody tuning into this sometime in the future. I'm very glad you're here. Even if you're totally new to this, I welcome you to the Prologue world, which I'm stuck in the beginning. I'm still just getting started on things, so you can start watching here. It's okay. I'm not going to ask you to watch previous episodes like I did in the last episode. I don't think people... seems like people really don't like to do that if they're just getting started. But I really wanted to go ahead and record another one, then this is kind of coming out the very next day, right after I just released one yesterday. I normally take, do it every other day, but no, I kind of got impatient here because I feel like the last one kind of sucked, and I'm not very happy with how it turned out, and nobody liked it. But I wanted to like make a better one, try to make a better one. But also I'll be going on a family vacation trip over the course of next week, so it's actually going to be like a week until I release the next one. Like not until next Saturday will I be recording another one. So that's I have a bit of an excuse to be trying to record another one right away. But there's a number of things I really want to kind of address in this one. It's kind of going to be a bit of a follow up to the previous 2 episodes. But you don't have to. As I said, I'm not gonna expect you to watch them. It's okay. You can start watching. You can start your viewership here in this one, and I hope that you like this and enjoy this. I need more shovels. This one's about to break. I'm gonna need a lot of shovels. I'm basically gonna be shoveling dirt. I have too many stone axes. Why do I have all of these? I have like 4 axes. I intend to only have like 2. 3. I do like to have 3. Okay, this one's kind of a spare. Yeah. And shovels. I want like 2 more shovels. 3 more shovels. Let's make 3 more shovels. Maybe even 4 more shovels, because I'm going to be shoveling a lot of dirt. I'm going to be continuing installing staircases, trying to continue working on the pathway, the path of least resistance down to the starting area. Because I want it to be an easier pathway to, I want an easy way to get from here to over there without having to jump. I just want a nice, easy stroll, I guess. And I should go ahead and make some more staircases too, because I probably will need them eventually, if not right away. I got my oak logs in here. I got so many oak logs, plenty of oak logs. I'm just gonna just use up an entire freaking stack of logs to make these. I'm gonna make lots of stairs. Let's make lots of stairs. Yeah, it's gonna be like 2 stacks. Yeah, lots of stairs. We can't run out of stairs. I'm sure I'll use them all up eventually, sooner or later. They will all come in handy. Yeah. All right, I think I'm all set. I'm good to go now. Yeah, this is good. This is good. All right. So yeah, the first thing I wanted to mention is that I really don't have much control. I have very limited control over the outcome of these videos. So like if it turns out kind of crappy, and I'm not, which has happened a number of times. I myself wasn't really very happy with the way the video turned out. I don't have much control over that because these are very spontaneous, and I'm trying to avoid editing, mostly because I don't want to be spending too much time on these. I'm trying to do these in like a low effort kind of manner, where I don't want to, I don't want this to be taking up a big portion of my time of the day, a big portion of my day, because this isn't like something that I'm doing for a living. This is just something that I'm doing for fun, and I don't expect to ever be doing this for a living. That's not what I'm working towards. I'm trying to keep this very casual. All right, so I'm not going to be trying to make these high quality. I'm not shooting for that, to make these, because I could be spending a lot more time. I'm going to be chopping these trees eventually, but I don't really need to do that to make this path. This is where the path is going to go, like down this way, basically. I'm not going to be trying to to make these really high quality. You know, like I expect to. I mean, I expect to get better at doing it within the format that I already have going on. I do think that I will probably get better with the improvisation, and I do believe that somebody else, like if it was somebody, like there are people out there who are much better at this than I am, that would probably be able to work with this. I mean, I think the format itself is actually pretty legit, of just doing long form Let's Plays in which you try to talk about mildly intellectual things, just to keep the game, to keep it kind of somewhat entertaining. I guess, you know, slightly entertaining is my trademark. So I think that's actually essentially very doable, and I'm sure that there are people out there that could probably do it much better than I am doing it, because I have a long way to go to get better at this. That said, I'm not going to, like, I don't intend to spend more time preparing for this. Currently, the way I'm doing this, I spend a little bit of time preparing for this. Like, I make a little index card that on which I write down, like, some of the things that I expect to be talking about, but that's about it. You know, I'm not, and conceivably, like, I could be spending a longer time preparing for these. I could be, like, writing out a script, because that helps. Like, even if you're not reading directly from the script, it helps a lot to write stuff down before you start recording yourself, just because that makes it easier for you to talk about the things that you're trying to talk about. So I could be doing that, but that's just going to be more time consuming. I mean, sure, that'll probably make, you know, increase the quality of this, but I don't really want to be doing that. I want to kind of maintain this very casual, very unprofessional, amateurish vibe that I think does have a good level of charm to it if carried out. You know, if I get better at this. I mean, even without getting better at this, I do feel like there's a level of charm to this that I do feel fairly confident in. let's put it that way. I guess I'm just gonna sleep outside for this night. So I don't really have a need to go back to the house just yet. Let's just sleep out here for this first night. But yeah, sometimes they're just not going to turn out very well, because I don't know what I'm going to encounter in the video, and I don't know how. I might turn out to. Oh, if that creeper spawned, that means that other creepers might have already spawned. So I gotta be careful over here. I don't think there's anything above me that's ready to jump down on me. I think I'm safe, fairly safe. Let's not be carrying the bed around. But also, I'm getting, you know, it's hard to not get too distracted by the gameplay itself. Because I am having to simultaneously, you know, pay attention to what I'm doing and you know, coming up, maintaining a monologue, which is pretty challenging. It's pretty challenging. It's hard to do that. But I do, you know, I think that it is doable, and I'm doing it. I'm still gonna keep doing it. And now it might be that I do want to at least complete this these 100 days. I want to complete, because that was the original intention. I wanted to get to day 100, and I do want to at least work on you know, towards doing that in this playthrough. If this playthrough ends prematurely, you know, I might change my mind. But it might be that the next stage of development for me might be just like I want to make 100-day world tour videos. Well, in periods of 100 days. You know, like a 100 days on 200 days and 300 days, that kind of thing. And then instead of doing complete playthroughs, you know, these long playthroughs where I try to capture the entire process, I'll just be recording, you know, the parts that are rather repetitive, that I don't have to focus on very much, while I talk about whatever I want to talk about. Because I mean, the intention in the long run is to make the intellectual content be kind of more the bigger aspect of this than the gameplay content. Does that make sense? All right, I think this is basically how I want this to be. I'm gonna put a bunch of fence posts along this edge to make it feel safer. And then this edge, kind of want to draw it out a little farther, to like around over here-ish, and then I'll have like a staircase going down this direction, going all the way, just going straight across. Go straight across, so like over here. So something like this is what I had in mind. All right, so all of that said, I do want to kind of get back to the topics that I was very poorly discussing in the previous couple of videos. I do feel like I just didn't do justice to the topics that I was trying to present. I mean, I do feel like I can get a lot. I have a lot of work to do in the presentation. Like it's about the presentation, especially if there are topics like this that most people aren't familiar with. The appeal of the video is going to rely very heavily on my ability to present them in a coherent manner that's not too rambly and not too distracted. That's also somewhat fairly appealing. And that's hard to do. That's tricky to do. But I'm going to try my best. And I do want to address some of the things some of the problems that I ran into while trying to make my case in the previous video. Because I do think that there is that I could make a better case for it. I kind of feel like I failed to make an adequate an adequately good. Just making sure nothing's gonna tip me over this death edge over here. I do want to do something like this on this side, and perhaps even extend it one block further. Am I out of freaking... Oh, I still have plenty of dirt. Okay, this dirt block's gonna have to go. Alright, because I want like 2 dirt blocks over here for the edge. I don't like a single dirt block along the edge. It makes me feel more vulnerable. Alright, I think we're good now. And then, yeah, and I'll make it even taller. Let's just go ahead and make it even taller. So I'm going to want this edge to be very well secured. I'm going to have a fence post, fence line going all the way across this edge to make this path. Yeah, come on. All right, so just addressing some of the intellectual problems, some of the conceptual issues I ran into the previous episode. So yeah, I was talking about how tribe revival, which is kind of my biggest thing, my biggest topic that I like to talk about the most. And very briefly, if you're completely new to this and you haven't heard me talk about this before, just very briefly to once again reintroduce the topic, the concept. Essentially, it's very simple to introduce. It's a very big concept, but it's very simple. Hearing sounds. I think that's coming from underneath me. Oh, he's over there. He's over there. Look at him. Any more? Any more? Are you coming out of the cave? Where are you coming from? They are coming out of the cave. Huh. I thought that cave was safe. Okay, well, pardon the interruption there. I kind of want to try to make it more safe then, if it's not really safe. I don't want creepers to be crawling out of here. Put a torch down here. Another torch down here. And another torch down here. Oh. There we go. Another torch down here. Just a temporary torch setup. Yeah, this will do. This will do for now. I haven't really explored any caves at all yet in this entire playthrough. I haven't had the need for it. How did I get in here? Oh, I got through over here. Gosh, I gotta do some landscaping over here to make this a better setup over here. Anyways, tribe revival. I'm trying to talk about tribe revival. See what I mean? Sometimes things just get in the way, and you get carried away having to talk about what's going on. Let's use up all of the dirt. So yeah, the basic concept of tribe revival is it's a kind of an extension of the American dream, of the idea that the objective of life is basically to save up enough money to have a house for yourself and your family, and then the extension to that, then have a house and have kids, and then the extension to that is to basically continue purchasing adjacent property. And the fantasy of tribe revival is essentially that eventually, that in the long run, after hundreds of years, after many generations, you would encourage your relatives, your kids and your relatives, to move into these nearby houses that perhaps you would have to purchase yourselves, or your kids would purchase, for their kids, and you would purchase for your kids, and they would sort of pass on the torch until the family collectively owns a bit of a sort of a family turf, like a bit of a city block or something like that. I'm coming back because I need more dirt. That's why I'm coming over here. Need more dirt. I ran out of dirt. How? I thought that was never going to happen. I mean, I have plenty of dirt. I ran out of dirt that was on hand. I thought that I had enough dirt with me, but I didn't. That's gonna be more than enough. It's way more than enough. That's probably gonna be enough. I don't really need a whole lot more dirt. What else? I need another shovel, and I need to drop off the zombie flesh, rotten flesh. So yeah, the basic concept of tribe revival is this idea that it would work out very well. I think that that's something that's a very alluring objective to have. It kind of gives this extension to, because the American dream of having the nuclear family and having a house to yourself, it feels like it's kind of a dead end after that. Like, what's after that? What's next? What do you do after you have that? People end up getting into these midlife crises of well, I accomplished this much in life, and what's next? What's after that? And typically your kids end up moving away from you because we put so much emphasis on trying to pursue financial interests. So we like to encourage people to move to different locations, to move to different cities, to move away from their families in pursuit of higher wages and things like that. And yeah, I think that's not really necessarily better for you. It might be actually worth it to remain where you're born, remain in your place of origin, and remain closer to your family, because I think it would be amazing to end up with a large amount of relatives that live and work with you, because that's what our brains evolved with. That's the prehistoric social setting, right? That our brains evolved with. And that's why I think our brains are very well attuned for this, and I think we would enjoy that kind of environment very much. I'm just gonna go ahead and sleep in my actual bed since I'm at the house. So that's the basic concept of tribe revival that I'm sure I'll reintroduce many times in the future, just to really drill the point. I guess that I do want to disseminate this concept because it helped me a lot to stabilize myself psychologically, just as something to work towards in the long run. All right, so I think it probably can be very helpful to other people psychologically. But I also, beyond that, I'm trying to make the further case, that not only is it extremely beneficial psychologically to ourselves as individuals and as families, I want to make the case that eventually I'm going to have to shovel down an entire further layer, one more layer down. But I'll get to that later. I want to complete the staircases over there on that side. So yeah, I want to make the further. Where the heck are those sounds coming from? Gotta be very cautious over here to avoid instant creeper death. See, it's very dangerous to be walking along here because things might drop down on you from the top of the mountain, because it's not very well lit up. Like, this is actually a very dangerous pathway, but at least I am going to plant some fence posts along the path. So yeah, I wanted to make the further case that I think it's not only tribe revival is not only extremely effective for us psychologically as a psychological tool to alleviate us from the existential angst of the modern world. I think it doesn't only do that, but furthermore, I think it can actually be viewed as potentially something that can save the world from disaster in the long run. Because there is the theory that of civilizational collapse, that we are headed for eventual catastrophe. That basically the meta crisis, I guess, theory, that in the long run, that if you sort of simulate this, if you were to make a simulation of our civilization as it is, that it basically leads towards certain death in the long run, right? So that's kind of the concept of the two. So the concept of the third attractor basically postulates that the first two attractors are catastrophe or dystopia, because we might end up destroying the world in some kind of way because we are in a race to the bottom because of multipolar traps. And that's I kind of tried to talk about that a couple of episodes ago, but those are simple concepts that I can reintroduce many times, right? It doesn't really take long to reintroduce these concepts because they're pretty simple concepts actually. So the first two attractors are catastrophe and dystopia, and I would like to make the case that I do consider, and I think there's a case there to be made, that tribe revival, darn it, I don't like when I'm caught outside in the rain, but I'm going to keep going. Even though that's a bit frustrating to me. I don't like getting rained out like that. But that's all right. I'm going to just follow through with the plan. So I have things to talk about. I don't want to just hang out of the house all day. All right, I don't want to do that. Not in this episode, at least. I'm going to go ahead and start with the fence posts. Do the fence work. I'm going to be putting up a lot of fence. Good bunch of fence to just sort of fence off the dangerous edges, the death pits, you know. So I really want to make the case that actually tribe revival might be a candidate for the third attractor that's not catastrophe or dystopia. And I was trying to make that case basically in the last episode, and I feel like I kind of failed at that. And that's because it's not a very compelling case at this point. I think there is a case there to be made, but it's actually very challenging to make that case. 3, 4, 5. And it largely depends. It very largely relies, the case for tribe revival being the third attractor, it very largely relies on the premise that the catastrophe and the dystopia, or the dystopia, I guess, one or the other, that those are still pretty far off. That we have the time to establish these family tribes. That it's not going to, that the catastrophe is not, it's not an immediate danger. Wouldn't it be hilarious if I just accidentally fell to my death in this episode while I'm talking about catastrophe and dystopia and trying to mitigate disaster? It would be absolutely hilarious if that happened. But I'm going to try to not let that happen by making sure there's nothing around me, no dangerous mobs, no creepers or archers or whatnot trying to sneak up on me. Alright, this is basically as far as I'm going to have this fence going. On this side, should also make it a little staggered, something like that, just to make it a little bit more natural looking. Yeah, something like this I think will probably look nice. Oh no, I kind of do. I changed my mind about that, I'm sorry. I do want a corner over here. Alright, and fence. go. Now this feels a little safer. And let's continue in this direction. So yeah, I think that there is a case to be made there, even though it sounds a bit far-fetched. But it is based on the premise that it's going to be a while, because Tribe Revival takes a long time to establish, and for it to, conceivably for it to get disseminated through a broader population, that would take a very long time, because we're talking about a massive, cultural overhaul. So it very well might be that we just don't have that amount of time in our hands. But I do think that there are reasons to believe, all right, that catastrophe or dystopia are far enough off, a long enough time away from where we're currently at, that we do indeed have hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, until like a civilization-ending event occurs, or like a species-ending, a terminating event occurs, right? So our civilization it might be that we have multiple occasional catastrophic events, catastrophic occurrences happening multiple times, until eventually we kind of stabilize our civilization with Tribe Revival or some other candidate for the third Attractor. But basically, without a third Attractor candidate, it does seem that we would eventually arrive at either catastrophe or dystopia. And the reason that dystopia, by the way, there is a reason why dystopia is considered to be the alternative, the second Attractor. I just want to pick up this fence post very carefully. The reason dystopia is considered to be the second Attractor is that, as opposed to catastrophe, is that in theory it's possible to mitigate catastrophe by creating a dystopian surveillance state, right? So it's conceivable. I need more fence posts. I have to go back to the house to pick up more fence posts. So it's conceivable that if you could create the way to mitigate disaster, mitigate catastrophe, is to create a surveillance state in which we're keeping an eye on anybody that, making sure that no individual or small group of people are so adversarial that they're able to come up with some way to completely wreck everybody else's livelihood and completely destroy our civilization. So the idea is that if we maintain a sufficient level of surveillance, that we could prevent, the ultimate, catastrophic doomsday terrorism type of scenario, which is, conceivable. It's likely that it's conceivable that with sufficient technology, a small handful of people or a single individual might come up with a disaster, with something, a way to completely wreck civilization altogether. I think I might have a whole bunch of fence already. I do have a whole bunch of fence already. I do not need to make more fence. I already have a whole bunch of fence already. Yeah, so I can put the stack of logs right back where it belongs for now. And I guess I'm gonna need more dirt. I thought I had enough dirt, but no, I think I'm gonna need more dirt just in case. I'm gonna bring a whole another stack of dirt. Okay. And it's time for sleep. And then I'm gonna go on for a fourth day, because the previous episode that was actually only 2 days. So I think I can go on for a fourth day in this one. Which will also give me some time to complete my thoughts here. No sun. Not much of a sunset over here, but it's still kind of cozy. I love being indoors when it rains. I don't like getting rained on in Minecraft. It does, even though, I don't feel the wetness, but it's like psychologically, you still kind of, you feel it through the screen, I feel it in my role-playing senses are feeling the wetness, and it's uncomfortable. All right, it's time to sleep. So yeah, I do think that there is a case to be made that tribe revival is an alternative to the dystopian surveillance state, and it's an alternative to the catastrophic possibility that somebody might come up with a doomsday weapon of some sort on their own, or that nation states might do that. That there would be some hegemonic, some multipolar trap that might make one or the other major superpowers, reach a point of distress that they would just destroy the entire world for the sake of delivering on their credible threat. That's kind of the danger of the nuclear disaster. So I do think that tribe revival, in the long run, if we have enough time, I do think that it is potentially a candidate for saving the world from either of these two outcomes. And the reason I think that it kind of serves a similar purpose to surveillance as the dystopian surveillance state. And the case there is that if you are surrounded by 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to make one in the middle. I'm just going to put one in the middle, and that torch is gone. And I'm out of torches. Let's make more torches. Nothing around me? Don't ever make torches without looking around yourself, because if you're ever in the crafting menu, it's prime time for creepers to blow you up. Be very cautious when doing that. 4, 5, 6. Alright. And I wanted to put a fence post over here. The reason I think it's kind of similar to the dystopian surveillance, because it's a non-dystopian surveillance, because if you're surrounded by family members, if you live and work with family members that care about you, or even if it's not necessarily family members, even if if you have a healthy social life and you have lots of friends, or a good decent number of friends that care about you, that sort of check in on you every now and then to make sure that you're all right, that you're doing all right, and that that you're not up to anything dangerous, and you're not coming up with some plot to destroy the world, to just to alleviate yourself of your frustration or something like that, or just out of vengeance for how mistreated you feel, how much grievance you have against the world, or something like that. As long as you are as a person, as long as there's a person in your life that cares about you enough to kind of to check in on you every now and then to make sure that you're doing all right in that regard, then you're not likely to become that kind of a maniacal terrorist, the kind that would go on to try to perform some kind of an assassination on the president, or create some kind of a bomb, to commit some kind of mass terrorism crime, or go on to become a mass shooter, or worse, with sufficient technology, a mad scientist can conceivably create a dangerous, extremely dangerous virus that can conceivably, oops, now I need fences. I need fence posts that might wreck everybody, that might, another fence post over here. More fence posts. I need more fence posts. See what I mean? You can never run out of fence posts. I use a lot of fence posts. So that's conceivable with sufficient technology. A single individual can completely ruin, can completely destroy the world. And without the surveillance state, without mass surveillance, it would be great. It would be, the way to mitigate that would be to have a healthy enough society that people naturally, in a non-dystopian manner, keep an eye on each other, just because they care about each other. And that would suffice. That would be a non-dystopian means of mitigating that kind of threat. And I do think that in the hypothetical, in the extreme fantasy hypothetical, the concept of tribe revival would spread to where it's this massive cultural shift spreads across the world to the point that everybody in the entire world, or at least in the majority of the world, has that, is trying to work towards something like that. Is kind of infected with the tribe revival bug, and I just want to go like one more block in this direction, and then from here I want to do this. That block's gonna have to go, and then have a double block type of deal happening over here. I just want to extend the fence post. Let's just extend it all the way, just to completely avoid this dangerous ledge over here. It's quite a dangerous ledge. So in that worst case scenario, right? I mean, I'm sorry. In the best case hypothetical scenario, the tribe revival naturally spreads across the world as an egregore, which is kind of the concept of it's. I would have to talk. This is another concept that would need defining, right? Because most people haven't heard of the concept of the egregore. It's basically like a concept that a mimetic concept that spreads naturally, organically spreads because people like the concept. So just because that it wouldn't be real, it wouldn't rely on forcing people into it, as say communism relies. Like communism relies on forcibly making everybody that's not a communist conform to communism. So that's kind of a major problem with communism. But in theory, tribe revival is so appealing psychologically that I think you wouldn't need to do that. I think it would just be extremely compelling, extremely alluring to people on its own. So you would never need to pressure people to subscribe to it. People would just want to voluntarily be very happy to switch over to that kind of mindset. And that, oh no, never mind, I got it. It jumped to behind me. So yeah, I think that it would serve as a natural social, just from the sheer social amount of social cohesion. I think it would serve as a natural barrier to the catastrophic outcome, like to the catastrophic potential. Yeah, I kind of want a tall, big fence post over here. I'm hearing skeleton sounds. Just making sure that nothing's above me. That's the danger zone up there. Okay, and let's go ahead and complete these stairs over here. So yeah, that's why I do think that in the long run, in the hypothetical extreme, fantasy land, that I know it sounds very unrealistic, but I think that it is more realistic than, I think there's a case to be made for that to actually be more realistic than it sounds at first, right? So I think that I'm going to eventually, I'll eventually make the case why I do think that that's actually not too unreasonable of an expectation to have of a fantasy, not too unrealistic of a fantasy, because I think that it's incredibly alluring. It's incredibly appealing to us psychologically. That that if given enough time, this idea would just naturally spread. I want a fence post. Where are my fence posts? I switched it over to the dirt. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. That's what I wanted to do. There we go. Making progress, guys. Good progress over here. So yeah, that's the reason why I do think it would classify as a good contender for the non-dystopian contender. Now there is still the objection that, well, what would prevent? Why would a tribe not also pose the catastrophic threat, the same kind of catastrophic threat? I need more fence posts. The same kind of catastrophic threat that that a sufficiently spooked superpower would pose. by just having too many nuclear weapons or having the technology to destroy the world. What prevents basically the same kind of catastrophic outcome? I already kind of covered that with the dystopia. Yeah, right. The idea that, you'd have oversight. You would have natural social oversight to make sure that nobody. But in theory, you could have, like, on an institutional level, the entire tribe could be up to something like that. So I think there is a way to address that objection, and the way to address that objection is, I think in general, it could be generalized that in general, a small tribe like that would very much prefer to avoid conflict, because there is too much at stake. Because and I know that there aren't good examples of this. Like, historically speaking, the kind of conception of the noble savage is not accurate. Historically speaking, the tribal reality of prehistory appears to be that of perpetual warfare. So it's hard to make this case that very naturally, small tribes small communities would be very averse, would be very violence averse. But my line of reasoning in that regard would be that the cases in which that tribal conflict happened in prehistory were already cases of those small-sized family tribes becoming, collapsing into larger tribes. So I think that if a tribe is small enough, it would be extremely averse to conflict. But if that structure breaks down, for whatever reason, to where people are disbanded and people are forced to comply to a larger social network that in which they are treated as disbanded individuals that nevertheless have to conform to, that they essentially become manipulated by a state-like hegemonic dictator, right? And that's the point at which those tribal communities become aggressive. So the point I'm trying to, the case I'm trying to make is that the small-sized family tribe unit, I think, is inherently non-aggressive, and it's the point at which they become aggressive is the point at which those family tribes resort to, having to break down and rally behind an authoritarian leader of some sort, and that's the point at which that happens. But by themselves, if with the right kind of first principles, with the right kind of principles, I do think that the sort of fantasy of just having we're talking about like millions of small tribes that the entirety of humanity would be organized into, and those millions of small tribes would further be further organized into tiers of organization, of intertribal relations that would be extremely sophisticated, extremely complex. I think that kind of network would be extremely conflict averse. Like, they would hate to be trying to commit any kind of violence against each other because it would be so disastrous for them. And for the individual, it would be extremely disastrous because you have your family reputation to uphold, and you wouldn't want to provoke other tribes. So I think a multitude of small tribes would be very much compelled and essentially forced into a defensive stance rather than the aggressive stance, because so they would take the defensive realism approach as opposed to offensive realism approach. And that's the reason why I do believe that in the ideal, fantastical circumstance that is very fantastical, but that would take a very long time to develop. But I do think that it's hypothetically is a realistic contender for the third Attractor and an alternative to either catastrophe or dystopia. All right, that's the reason why I think there is a case to be made there. All right, it's a very far-fetched case. I'll grant you that. But I really wanted to complete that thought and attempt to
you know, put it in, to make a more coherent case, because I feel like I kind of failed at that in the last video. But anyways, there's that, and that's about all the time that I have for this episode. And it's going to be a whole week until I return and talk to you about some other topic. That's about all I wanted to say about this matter. I kind of wanted to. That's what's been on my mind lately. I think a lot about these things. So that's it. That's it, guys. Thank you very much for bearing with me through this, and I hope you enjoyed this. All right, and please feel free to let me know what you make of this stuff. I very much appreciate comments, any kind of feedback that I get. That would be great. All right, and that's it for now. That's all I got for now, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Shadowlay, my fellows. Shadowlay.